Swoosh Life Podcast. Season 3. This episode of the Swoosh Life is brought to you by Anchor. Let me tell you about them. Anchor is our partner in this podcasting journey. We're so excited that they're back as a partner and to be with them. And Anchor is the best way to start podcasting. Oh, why, you may ask? Well, let me explain. Anchor provides a free and easy solution to all your podcasting needs. They have creation tools to allow you to record, edit, and distribute your podcast right from your phone or computer, allowing your podcast to be heard all over Spotify or wherever you may listen to podcasts. We're on Apple. We're everywhere now. Not to mention that you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Everything you need to make a podcast, all in one place. So what are you waiting for? Do like we did here at the Swoosh Life and download the free Anchor app and go to anchor.fm to get started. Thanks for listening to Swoosh Life. Now back to the episode. Hello, boys. What's up? We are back on a Wednesday. We're recording on a Monday, but we are back. This is a hype day. We are super excited. We have a huge guest today, and I could not be more pumped. But we also have some huge news to get into. So this is episode 42, episode 3 of season 3. We'll put up the DeMar Hamlin threes. And also, little fun fact, boys. Did you know this? Here we go. Ready? 50 days till the Masters, as you were listening to this on Wednesday. 50 days until April 6th, which is the first round of the Masters, and I could not be more excited. The sun is shining here in Syracuse today. We're back, gents. We're back.
We don't get that many sunny days in Syracuse that much anymore.
We sure don't.
But yeah.
Not only that, hell of a weekend, right? Like hell of a weekend.
Great weekend for the Swoosh. Scottie pulling off another W back-to-back. We're probably going to get into it a little bit more, but it's awesome. It's beautiful here in Connecticut too, and this week, T-Dub week, I think we all got the itch even more now, seeing him tee it up this week. Matt, how you feeling on Chicago? I hope it's a little sunny out there and a little bit warmer because
I know
you've been off on your weather tantrums a little bit lately.
I put up the, for those of you that don't know, you're probably not in our group chats. I'm a little snarky in the wintertime. And then today it's 45 degrees. I've got the grill getting going right now. Gonna be smoking something a little bit later. 45 degrees, getting the sun. I know I put the Vince Carter "It's Over" meme up on the Instagram page. Seasonal depression is over because, hey, we had the Super Bowl, we had the Waste Management. Oh, by the way, the Swoosh just happened to have their second win in a row, and that's 2 in a row, back-to-back, year-to-year for Scottie Scheffler. And on top of that, it's Tiger Week, the TW Retro News before the weekend. And today on Nike.com, Jordan 6's official images just dropped. Whew. And we got a crazy good guest today. So, man, buckle up, everybody. This is going to be a hot and fast one, man. It's awesome.
I would dare say that this might be our best episode ever. And this
already
maybe took us 42 episodes to get there. I don't know. We've had some pretty good bangers. But, like – the Jackie Robinson episode, why not? Let's go. Let's hit it a home run. Let's knock it out of the park today. So very excited about everything. Yeah, 6 is dropping on NDC is huge. What we have seen on a couple of different things is the 24th, but that's only based off of Golf Galaxy and Golf Locker and some other stuff. So it could be a little bit earlier on NDC. We don't know. So stay tuned for that. And then other speculation is maybe around 15, 16 of the TW13 as well. We are not sure on a release date on that. We will not actually put a date out on, but just what we're seeing, what we're telling you, what the universe may be telling us. So we're looking forward to that. Going to be a heck of a week. Guys, you know what else has happened this week? Not only is Tiger coming back, I think we're all wearing I'm wearing my Tiger shirt on YouTube if you guys can watch this. He's wearing his Tiger shirt with little Franks all over it. Matt's rocking the Melty composite shirt, right?
In honor of Scottie, who was wearing TWs leading into TW week, who will be competing at Riviera.
Yes. We also get an inside look at the PGA Tour dropping Wednesday on Netflix. Full Swing drops. And actually, if you guys were paying attention last night, Full Swing episode 1 dropped already last night. for those with the Michelob Ultra on their QR code from the Super Bowl. And so I have not watched yet, as it is Monday afternoon that we're recording, maybe tonight. But episode 1 is live on a thing. So gonna have to check that out. Super excited to see how that is. We've got Tony, Scottie, Rory in it, a bunch of the Nike guys. And then obviously we have debated a bunch on here, the PGA versus Live stuff. So I'm a huge fan of the Drive to Survive from F1. And it got me into F1. So I can only imagine what this is going to be like with a sport that I actually already follow, So very excited about that.
Yeah, little Tony Finau news that was a little bit related to the Live thing. Just saw a quote from him saying how he misses some of those guys being on tour, and most notably Brooks. And I think that's the other shame of this thing, is that we only get to see Brooks now for the 12 events that they do. It's hard again, so I can't wait to see, and especially our guy Justin Whelan contributed some scenes to this evidently. So that's why I'm really excited to see, because he always does an immaculate job. I mean, the guy only won 58 Emmys last year, just in the last year, 58 Emmys, I think. Justin, you feel free to jump on and correct me if I'm wrong on that stat. But
actually, I can give you a little bit of insight. Justin will be joining us for our Masters episode this year. We're still locking down dates and everything, but he is committed to joining us for the Masters episode, just like he was last year. So hopefully this is a yearly thing that Justin comes on, joins us. An Augusta person, goes every year, has played it before. Why not have him on for our Masters preview episode? So that's really exciting. A little scoop. And yes, Justin contributed a full swing. I think it's going to just be awesome to see how everything comes. But what a week. Just what a week we've got, coming up. Tiger Presser. Again, you're listening to this on Wednesday, but this was being recorded on a Monday. So Tiger Presser tomorrow, Tuesday, or yesterday, if you're listening. Intrigued to see what he says. Happy to have him back. Intrigued to just see him, what's on his feet, But how you guys feeling with him coming, now that Waste Management is over, him coming back? How you feeling? Has things changed since Friday night, Saturday when we launched the last podcast?
And Keith has been hit by the mute monster. First time, actually, since we're such a stream yard. That's all right. Third episode.
That's okay.
Got me. You guys got me. No, it's we're recording on a Monday afternoon, which is awesome. But, news has come across flashing with Tiger being at LA Country Club right now, walking through the course and everything. So that's awesome to hear, which means we're already up to 3 times we'll probably see Tiger playing this week, Masters, US Open. So that's great to see. It's great to see that he still has that rush of playing and wanting to compete in the majors. And with this week coming up, it's going to be great to hear him talk and hear his press conference and see what he said, a couple days ago. It's just going to be great. Other than that, I'm excited. I'm really not going to look down and see what's on his feet until one of you guys tell me what's on his feet, because I'm just going to be focusing on him and how his swing is looking.
Yeah, I agree. I just hope that he's good. I want to see how he walks. I want to see how the feet are holding up to the planter. As someone who goes through that, just what it looks like, feels like. It's tough. But yeah, I think that's good. Hype around the 6, the Jordan 6. I mean, Matt, you saw the pictures come out. What are your initial thoughts on the Jordan 6 after we get some finally up close photos of the AJ6?
So I don't know if I said this in the last episode. I didn't have a chance to listen back, but I know we all wanted the free version, and there's even some free wording still in the description. So it feels like they copy and pasted from the last release, the last golf release. They're more true to the 6 low that released for casual streetwear. Here's my thing. Like I said, it's still a 4.5 for me out of 5. It's a must get. And the reason is that it's look, we wanted a Ferrari. The 6 is a Ferrari, or actually it's designed after a Porsche. So let's just say, right, it's designed after one of his German sports cars. This thing's probably like a 911 Carrera, right? And, the old one was like the classic 911 Turbo because it had the free cushioning and all that stuff. So, at the end of the day, we're still getting a 6 sports car on our shoes. It looks really good. And it's, if you're budgeting, and this is where I'm debating, and I've asked this question, and I'm just going to give my statement. It's going to be tough for me. And I think if they did release both on the 24th, I'd probably have to err on the side of getting the infrared, securing those first, and then hoping that we get some other Tiger colors down the road. And, rumor is that there is some other Tigers coming down the road. We'll talk about that maybe next episode more in depth about the rumored colorways for Tiger, but just seeing the 6s and knowing that they're there, if I had to pick one between the two, I'm going between those two, and they look really good. Like the quality of the leather from the pictures, Blake called it out. It looks like really soft leather, and that's key because you're going to get more creasing when you're playing golf than wearing shoes casually, right? Like I know in a lot of my shoes, I'll put like force fields, those kind of things. They're like little tents that go in the toe box to keep them from creasing. You're not going to want to golf and walk, and I know those of you saying, well, I'm in a cart. Have you ever checked like a Fitbit, even when you're in a cart, like how much walking you actually do, especially like if it's cart path only, like on a drizzly day. So for me, the 6 is a hit, man. Like I'm so excited. And I wonder going forward, and I've said this before, if all the new golf shoes we get from Nike will just be retros. Like, are all we going to get is the Victory Tour, that new one that Rory's wearing, whatever it is, the 2.5 or the 3, whatever they're going to call it.
Yeah. I don't know. We have next percent in the 2-year run. So we'll see. I think next year will be the linchpin, right? Like, do we just do like Tour Premiere, right? Like we talked about it in some back channel chats, and would a Tour Premiere be retro already? Like the Summer of Brooks was such a big hit, and such a good shoe too. Like why not? But I think it all kind of lynches on next year, after the 2-year run of the next percent, to see what they come up with and what comes out, because I think the Jordans are getting better. Like they're getting better every year. There's another one, and we started with the 3s, and I think then it was then the 4s, then the 5s, and then the 5s and the 4s. I don't remember, but it was one of the other, and they were like, some were chunky a little bit, like on one of them, and I'm looking up to the right here to my collection and staring right at them. But then I know like the 12s last year were a huge hit with people, like super comfy and all that stuff, and so it's quite interesting to see what this will feel like with the 6, and it's obviously going to be a little bit different than the original 6 that we got due to not having free technology in it, but still really, really exciting stuff. So that's coming out. Tiger's back. Let's talk about Scottie. Scottie gets it done at the Waste Management again. I would say with a pretty not severe, but good case of the polls all week, and still being able to score handedly, whatnot, and rocking a pretty interesting polo yesterday too, the blue. I think one of my friends commented, it looks like it's inside out, but I kind of dig it at the same time. So Keith, give me your Scott on your Scott's on Thotty, your thoughts on Scottie after his second win in a row with the Waste Management, and now back to number 1 in the world again too.
It's been one of the first PGA tournaments that I've watched since the Hawaii swing, because I love just watching the Hawaii swing, and the Waste Management is always the party atmosphere, especially with the football or with the Super Bowl happening, right down the street from there. But watching Scottie win back to back, I loved it. It was a big win for the Swoosh. It was a big win for him to take over number 1 again. It's him and McIlroy going back and forth right now, with Rahm not that far behind. So it's good to see 2 of our boys, just like they were with the clubs, 1 and 2 mostly throughout the careers of the clubs and now the clothing line and everything. But with Scottie did have to pull the lefts, especially on hole 17, where it almost, on the drivable par 4 there, he did yank that, and that was skimming across the green, and it stopped on the fringe. And that was, that's, you got to have that luck sometimes when you have a couple wins under your belt.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was good to see some of the new apparel. It was good to see the back swoosh on all the shirts, how it looks on televised and everything. It looks good. That's why they placed it there, so people know what shirt he is wearing. He didn't wear too much Tiger stuff. He had the T-Dub shoes on, but there was a lack of his Tiger shirts. But no, other than that, a great week by him, great win, and definitely probably more to come from him. He looks like back in full force. His putting looked amazing. His short game looked amazing. But yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, it's going back to your thought about like wedges and contractual thing what we talked about with Rory. It looks like he had the Vokies back in the bag, which he had during the Masters win. So he had Vokies back in the bag. He is a tailor-made guy, so he did have the new Stealth and the fairway and the driver. My brother sent me a what's in the bag kind of post. But I'd like you guys to tell me if this is blasphemy, because I get nervous. Like, I know he's wearing the Tiger Woods shoes, and I get nervous comparing him to T-Dub. But the thing that impresses me is that when he has this case of the pools, which from an equipment standpoint, by the way, everybody, it's amazing because he has it 2 degrees open. So the fact that he's still pulling it left with a driver that's 2 degrees open, pretty impressive, for that to happen. But look, the pulls started happening on the back 9 at Augusta, and he pulled out that victory.
Yeah.
And he has the pulls, and he pulls out this victory. So this is what I think might be blasphemous to some, but it's very impressive because Tiger also, when Tiger didn't have his game going, he still found ways to win. And granted, many more times than Scottie has ever done on a much bigger stage in majors. I totally agree with that. But it is very Tiger-esque to me that he's able to do this. Like, hey, I don't have my best stuff, but I can still go ahead and compete with the world's best and pull off a win. And pretty, it feels like he was feeding off that atmosphere. He doesn't seem like a party animal, but it feels like he was up for the moment. What do you guys think?
No, I think it's he's definitely more of the can score without his A game, whereas someone like a Rory, he wins sometimes with his B game, but it feels like he had a couple A moments throughout the week to get him there. I think last week he holed out, right? Like, and everything. And so he has that like throughout the week. Whereas like, I think Scottie doesn't do anything like flashy. I think he made like a 48-foot bomb throughout the week or something like that. And so it definitely felt like an Augusta-esque win where he kind of just grinded it out, and you're fighting in a charge. Jason Day made a charge. Good to see him back up in a top 5 position. Rahm probably again B- C game, but right there with it, and Rahm's won twice already this year, so that was you're fighting off that, plus Nick Taylor just like fighting for his life and unbelievable like gutsy performance from someone. But yeah, 3.6 million on the line and Scottie gets it done. So great to see. Really cool atmosphere out there at the Waste Management this year with all the football, the Super Bowl, and everything. So yeah, it was awesome. And then little Super Bowl talk as we get into it, as we left the Super Bowl talk. Matt's pick of the Eagles, of the Chiefs, not the Eagles, winning came to fruition. My bet hit every leg except for Miles Sanders' first touchdown, so that's really annoying.
Wait,
it was a really good
how
game.
many was that? How many did you have in that parlay?
I had $15 and it would have paid out $1,700. So, but all my money
Could have
was
gotten
being
all the
made
T-dubs.
all my money was being made on Miles Sanders scoring the first touchdown, which obviously is like the more of a long shot, So, and then like because he fumbled in the opening like drive, they didn't even give him the ball anywhere like near that end of it. So, when someone else, it was other than Boston Scott came in to score the touchdown that was taken away. I thought that was him, but it was Kenneth Gainwell. So, but either way, cool to see. Cool little factual note was Jalen Hurts starting and Jordan 11s in the game, scored the first touchdown in Jordan 11s, and then changing to the AJ 1s like midway through the second quarter. We called it out in the group chat and everything. And so interesting to see how the footing was like affected due to the grass and everything too. So $800,000 for that grass, and it was a ice rink yesterday.
What wasn't the story though that the grass was actually like golf people helped make the grass?
Yeah, it's actually a golf like grass that they use for like the first time. So it gets wheeled out every day onto it. Just quite interesting.
Yeah, I know that's the big thing about the Cardinal stadiums, that they're able to wheel those grass fields in and out, get it sun for 24 hours, and obviously Arizona not known for its robust temperatures and wet weather. So interesting that they did that. I wonder about the footwear though. So like, did they say that the cleats were different sizes? Because I'll tell you something. I do something you guys might not believe this. It's really crazy. I've decided the last 2 years to do something crazy when it comes to the Super Bowl.
And not watch it.
I don't. Well,
not grill one day of your life. I don't know. Not cook something.
Actually, I didn't yesterday. I shout out to Costco, rotisserie chicken and a couple slices of pizza. We're good.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, $5 chicken and a $10 pizza, dude. You can't beat it, man. Fed everybody. We were napping by halftime. Although I really did enjoy the Super Bowl halftime show. Interestingly, though, so here's the controversial thing that I do. I don't bet on it. I don't have any fantasy things going on. I just sit and watch and kind of enjoy the game that way. Don't have any, I don't have to pull for anything like crazy to happen, like Miles Sanders to score the first touchdown. Like that would have ruined my mood.
It was entertaining. I was telling you, I was at a little party last night. It was entertaining watching me rooting for someone. But it's cool when you get to watch it. It was a great game last night, So
was the AJ one that he switched to? It wasn't the golf one, was it? Or did it have cleats or spikes?
It definitely had spikes. And so my speculation is someone is seeing it is that there's definitely that they need to change it to just get some better traction. So, all right. Our guest has arrived. Super excited. A big time provider of updates, reviews on all things sneakers, sports, music, entertainment. Popular on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat for his unboxing and reviews, with over 1.3 million subs on YouTube and the host of Voices on the PGA Tour YouTube. A new golfer like ourselves. A pleasure to introduce to the pod, Mr. Jacque Slade. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the podcast. We're super excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. That's one hell of an intro.
I have all my notes here. All my notes, man.
I owe you for that.
So, Jacque's a big time sneaker guy. Super excited to have him on here, and he's just gotten into the golf. He got involved with the PGA Tour. We're going to ask you all about that. But we are just pumped. I've been following for a while, seeing you on Snapchat, Insta, all over the place. I think I haven't tweeted at you a couple times, nothing crazy. And then Matt's obviously a big fan too, and he's reached out. And so we're super excited to have you here. Matt's going to take over 3, 2, 1. This is our new guest, thing. We got to do it. So Matt's going to hit you with that.
So this is just to introduce you for the golfers. So we try to serve the sneaker community and the golf community and overall the Nike fandom that's out there. So just to kind of get an idea of like what your golf background is, like what your vibes are. The first question of 3, 2, 1 is name your 3 favorite golfers of all time. And they don't have to be Nike golfers. So they could just be any golfer, because we know Nike didn't come into the golf game till like the 80s, right? So, who are your 3 favorite golfers? And if you want to include Tiger, we're all Tiger fans, obviously. So it's totally up to you. So 3 favorite golfers that you got.
I'm going to say Lee Trevino, especially in his later years. I feel like he is just so great for the game and growing the game. He's like just throwing knowledge out, just passing it on, just giving it out, just giving it away. Patrick Harrington, just because he's just a really solid guy.
It's a brilliant mind too. Patrick Harrington's
absolutely.
Mind is wild.
And then probably I'll probably have to go with like Charlie Sifford, just because he's the first black golfer that went on the PGA Tour. So.
Man, that is
those 3.
That's a solid 3. And I actually used to work at Wilson Sporting Goods, so I saw you did a Wilson, little Keith event behind the scenes. Probably some stuff to come out. Looks like down there in Arizona. So we don't have to talk about that. But yeah, I was always a Patrick fan because when Tiger took that little hiatus, he rolled off 2 majors, and he started tweaking with the swing and never won again. But great guy, great follow. So the 2 in 3, 2, 1. your two favorite golf shoes, Nike golf shoes. What do you got on the road? Like, it doesn't have to be current in your rotation, something you wish they would bring back, or it could be something that you love wearing.
The 12 low is like my recent favorite. I feel like they're just mad comfortable. And they're really hard to beat on the course as a lifestyle, like fun shoe, and not like I'm a serious golfer, take me seriously. Like it's a very like cool. I think the new community that's getting into golf, that's kind of be their thing. And then the second one, God, there's so many really. Like Adidas has so many good ones. I really love playing in the Stan Smith old school golf shoe. The TW13 I think is always going to be a standout for golf shoes. Yeah, I'll go with those two. Those three technically for my two. Those would be
Cool.
yeah.
No, that's cool. We do a little parentheses around those Stan Smiths.
Yeah,
classic shoe. It's all right. It's all good. Now here's the one. And
okay.
Man,
this one's gonna be so hard for him. So hard.
And my next question will like build on like how I followed your career. But what is your one favorite Nike or Jordan shoe of all time? Doesn't have to be a golf shoe. So just like what is the one? And I think I know the answer because you've worn these to death. And you're one of the big proponents of wear your shoes. I love, if this is it, then I love it, but I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, I would say definitely it's the black cement threes. I just think they look so good, brand new or worn in. The pair that I have, they're beat to death. Actually, I don't even have them right now. I have a shirt on. Shoe surgeon actually has them now because he helped me restore the bottoms because the bottom was actually coming off of one of them. So he like completely ripped them apart and he was like, yo, you need to put these back together. We're going to rip them apart. And so we put them back together. And this was like 2 months ago. And I just haven't been back to his studio to pick them up from him. But like the uppers are still great. They're still in really good condition. It's just that the sole was coming off. So
they're not crumbling, right? Like they're still
no, they're not crumbling. It's just that like literally like the sole was separating from the upper. And so he like took them apart, glued it, put them in the oven, and like stuck them back together. And so I'll be able to go and grab those. I just got to get back over to his studio to grab them.
The epitome of wear your shoes, right there.
Yeah, epitome of wear your shoes. And I can't wait. Like when it becomes also like the ship of thesis. Like you'll probably one day have to replace the soles, and then someday you'll wear out the uppers, and you'll have to replace the uppers, and maybe do some like sole swapping and stuff like that. So. Will still be the original at some point, but
I actually have a new pair and I just refuse to wear them. I just want because these are still good. Like there's no point in wasting a new pair. These are still really good. So,
what year is that retro? Is it the retro? Is it the OG?
No, this is the retro. These are 2000. I think it was 2010 when they came out, or 2011. I don't remember what year it was they came out. It was 10 or 11, but I've just worn them ever since. Like I even have the new. Again, I have the new pair, but I just don't want to change out these because like they've shaped to my foot, like they wear well, they look good. Like I just don't want to change.
So for those of you that maybe you're a little bit newer to Jacques, let me take you through my history and like where Jacques intersect, like where I first like noticed you, man. And that's I'm the old head of the group, by the way. So these young cats, they don't know about message boards. So I go back to like Nike Talk, turn of the century kind of thing. Yeah. Shout out to those times, methodological management. I don't know if I can talk this afternoon. I'm so excited to be speaking to you. But I remember like when sneakerhead culture was like relegated to message boards.
Yeah.
And then like then meetups started from the message boards. And then all of a sudden there was like actual news sites like Kixology and Sneaker News. Yep. That stuff actually popped up. And I was like, wait a minute, this hobby is starting to get legitimized.
Yeah.
And that's when all of a sudden I see a man doing video unboxings, reviews on YouTube. Like you really set that world on fire. To me, you're the OG of it, of doing sneaker news on video. When did you realize that this was something that was going to be a bit more, or like, did you always know this was something big and it was an underserved market? Like, and when did you know you made it?
Honestly, I didn't know. So I started out, my start in the world of sneaker media was at Kicks on Fire. So I started writing for Kicks on Fire in 2009. And back then, there wasn't anyone doing sneaker news on YouTube proper. And so I wanted to try to do something that was a little different. And so I wanted to create like a Hollywood reporter, Hollywood news, e-news kind of thing for sneakers. And so I started doing it on Kicks on Fire, and I was doing it once a week back then. And then in 2013, when I started doing things on my own, I knew that I couldn't compete with the blogs. And so my choice was to like, well, I'll just be a video version of the sneaker blogs. And then that just kind of continually grew. And that's kind of brought me to where I am now. Like, that was like the differentiator for me, because there was sneaker information already out there, but doing it on YouTube in the news format was the differentiator that allowed me to kind of grow and prosper within this space.
That's awesome. I know I'm the quiet one in this group here and everything, but I do want to switch it up a little bit and go to the golf side, because I've seen a couple of videos of your swing and it looks pretty darn good. It looks good. I saw the Vegas video. It looked good. That was a good bomb down the middle. But we just wanted to know, we all have our stories of how, we became or got into the groove of golf and intro or got hooked on the game. We just want you to let us know and our listeners how you got into the game of golf. Since we talk about a lot of golf on here, mostly our sneakerheads out there, who like introduced you to golf, and how was your relationship with like the PGA Tour and everything?
My first, I played golf in my younger years, like here and there. It was like, oh, hey, this is like when I was working at like a bank, and I was like, oh, we're having a golf event. It's like, oh, okay, I'll go. Cool. That'll be fun. But I didn't really start playing golf probably till 2013. One of my good buddies, Tony, who actually works for Spotify now, not that matters, but just popped into my head. He works at Spotify, and he got me into golf. He started playing. He was one of the guys that we played ball with. And he started playing and started, inviting us out, and we would always like, no, bro, I play basketball. I'm a baller. But then eventually, he got me, and I went out and played with him. And, I just kind of started falling more in love. The more I played with him, the more I fell in love with it. And then like the competitive side started to kick in, because he just would kick my ass. And, at first it's like, oh, I don't know how to play golf. I'm just out here having fun and it's cool. But then like the more you play, the more you're like, all right, I can't let you keep kicking my ass, bro. Like that, like that's not good. And so then that started me playing a little more. I probably should have took lessons then, but I didn't. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna play, and then I'll get better. And then probably I would say like the year before COVID, I was like, all right, I need to really get better. I want to really, really get better. So I started taking lessons. So I'll say like 2020, 21, 22, 23, like I've been really trying to dial it in to really get better. I mean, I'm still terrible. I'm still like an 18. But like the goal this year is to really get down to like a single digit, like a low single digit. And I think I'm really at that point now where I'm starting, like I understand like the feels. Like a lot of those lessons, it was like, oh, do this, and I was just like doing it, but not knowing why, or not understanding how it was supposed to feel, or not understanding what I was doing necessarily, just kind of doing it. And I feel like now I'm starting to understand all of those things a little bit more, and like the process of things now, like the process of the swing, the tempo, how I'm moving my body and all of those things, like not just being out there and being an athlete. And so I think this year I think that the jump is gonna happen this year. Like my instructor he's like, you're so close. And I think part of it is just me getting those feels right. And that's such a golf term, and I hate saying that, but
that's that Tiger term right there. Get his feels back.
Yeah, just getting the feel right, because it makes a difference, like how your body's moving, like understanding the feeling of that. And like now I go back and I watch like a lot of the tutorials that I used to watch and things like that, and now you understand and appreciate some of the things that they were saying a little more, because you understand now about the wrist inflection and pronate and supinate and all in the shoulders and moving all of those things. So yeah, so that's kind of like
what's your biggest struggle? Is it putter? Is it irons? Is it driver? Is it everything?
Really, it's long irons mostly. Like
Oh,
my mid irons
same.
are okay, but my long irons are so iffy. Like one day I'll hit a 4-iron 230, 240, and then the next day I'll hit it like 190, and I don't know what the difference is, you know, kind of thing. So like getting those long irons together is really like the goal now. So I'm getting to a point now where like a 4-iron is like a consistent 220, 225. Like I know I can count on it going like that distance and not being like out of my mind, like what the hell is going on, or shanking it over to the left or to the right. Between those and then probably I would say sand bunkers are like some days it's great, some days it's not. And then probably 70 to 100 yard range. For some reason, that range just like I just can't figure it out. Either it's long or it's mad short. And I'm just like I just got to figure that out. So there's a lot of things with my game that needs to need work. But
we'll get you a Gumby golf lesson. That's just me. And I'm short like all the time. Not a long hitter at all. But my short game, that's pretty good. So we call it Gumby golf. I can just get up to the green, chip on, make par, make a couple birdies. That's it. You know. So
that's
just gotta get on that Gumby golf game.
And don't worry about the bunkers. Don't worry about the bunkers. It's the bunkers' fault because some are like white sand, and then the other ones are like the crushed glass, and then there's the dirt, the mud. Like there's different types of bunkers out there.
That's true.
It's their fault. It's the bunkers' fault.
Definitely the bunkers' fault.
But just to kind of go ahead,
if I can get my 150 game together, 150 in. If I can get that in, I think that'll dramatically change things for me.
Shaving everything off.
Yeah, your story golf is very similar to mine. I was a college basketball and tennis player, and you know, I used to make fun of the guys that did golf because I was like, oh man, you waste 4 hours walking in the woods chasing something. Like it's so silly. And then when I was 25, I went on a golf trip with my buddies and I finished like dead last, and I was like, no, this can't happen. So I went back the next year and got my ass kicked again. But after that, like I rattled off a couple wins in a row. So the turn can happen very quickly. Yeah. So I'm the worst golfer of the group. Gumby's got because I can hit my driver. I can't hit anything else. Gumby's the next best golfer because he's got the short game. And then our Stig, like if you're a Top Gear fan, like our pro over here is Nike Keith over here. So Keith, what's your next question for Jacques?
No, I just had to follow up on since we're on the golf topic, just how involved are you with the PGA Tour? You know, how great are they, you know, with their players and everything, and how, you know, just how involved are you with the PGA Tour?
So my relationship with the PGA Tour is fantastic. I'm super grateful for the relationship that I have because I know that I am in a very privileged position with them. That not a lot of people have this sort of relationship with them that I do. I think they're a great organization, and they're really working. I think they're really working to change and really working to adjust to the times and to adjust to how they grow the game. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm there is I can be, you know, they've given me the liberty to be totally open and honest and factual with them. Just tell them like my thoughts and my feelings coming from the cultural perspective that I bring to the game. I'm able to share that with them and then provide insight as well to things that they may not necessarily be thinking about. There's a lot of things that happen in golf, and there's a lot of repetition in golf of stories that are told over and over and over. And part of my relationship with them is saying, hey, love these stories. These are great. How about we add this story as well and make this a part of the rotation of the stories that you tell? Because the growth of the game doesn't just happen from guys like us getting into the game and wearing Jordans on course. Like that's not the only way that's going to change the game. We need to also have the older generation that's already playing and that are already kind of cemented in the world of golf, giving them new stories to tell. So, you know, we always talk about Arnold Palmer and Sam Snead and all of these guys. We always tell those stories, and we all know about those guys. But we also need to be telling those same stories about Lee Trevino, those same stories about Charlie Sifford, about Calvin Pete, like telling those stories and putting those stories into the rotation that we talk about every tournament. And that, I think, will help grow the game in a way that doesn't necessarily, because we're not trying to force our culture onto other communities that play golf. We're just trying to add our culture into the community of golf. And I think part of that is, again, telling those stories.
Yeah,
That was
and your
awesome.
first episode of Voices with Macklemore on the PGA Tour's YouTube channel was awesome to watch, and from like my point of view is like I use golf as therapy, as I think a lot of people do, is it's a way to connect with nature and everything, and to hear him, I'm a big Macklemore fan. I think one of my top concerts is a Macklemore concert, and so to hear him talk about golf and the way that he relates it now and channels it now for what he struggled with addiction and everything like that, and coming in, that's a story that you told, is awesome. And also personally, someone that I design college athletic websites, and so my biggest thing is telling the athlete stories, especially from like the NIL perspective and everything now is everything that I'm trying to do with these colleges nowadays. I'm working on some big ones. It's really cool. Is to help is to get them to think about the athlete and the player behind just like the uniform. And because every person has a story to tell, whether it's me, whether it's you, whether it's someone down the street, like every single person's story is different, and you don't know how that can impact someone else by just hearing it or seeing it or anything like that. So I commend you for bringing that to the game of golf and bringing it into fashion and into all that too, because I think it's hugely popular now, and it's just what PGA needs to battle off the other thing, and what we need just as like a golf community too, which is really cool. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if I could make one comment about just the idea of like, I know you said that, hey, shoes won't fix everything, but it is kind of cool that I've lived in two worlds. Like I've lived, I'm a guy that grew up on the north side of Chicago, taught myself to play tennis, became a tennis instructor. And when you're a tennis instructor, you live in a very privileged, like you work in a very privileged environment. And, I was around the country clubs and the golf courses. And then Keith will talk about this too. When we worked for Nike Golf, being around the country club crowd that doesn't have a diverse sense of, or a self-awareness, I should say. And then I have my basketball world. And there are plenty of gyms. I still go into a gym every week where I'm the only face that looks like me. And it's great. I love it. And now my basketball friends, they can't wait to go play golf. Like they've picked up golf and they feel more, and I'm not saying they feel totally comfortable, but they feel more comfortable, especially when you can get a group of people that from other places together. And like for me, watching my golf and tennis and basketball buddies all collide on a golf course, it's been a beautiful thing. And that's what I think, like, the stories that you're telling, like, man, come off, show off your fit, kicks of the day, show your shoes, know about the straightest hitter ever in the legendary game of golf, right? Like, know that those people existed decades ago, and the stories deserve to be told. I think it's wonderful what you're doing, man. So I just had to make that comment. Like,
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
That's where I think like this inclusion of sneaker culture is cool, because so many of us have grown up around each other, and for us all to like meet back up in the game of golf, I think is so cool.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Couple weeks ago, you posted about the TW13 and asking Nike to do a retro. And then all of a sudden, Jacque, guess what we got coming back now?
Yeah.
What did you know back then, and how hype are you for this to come back out?
So I actually didn't know it was going to come back out, but I will tell you, for the last year and a half, I have been talking to Nike people like, what is going on? Why are we playing around? It's Tiger's 10-year anniversary in 2013. What's going to happen with his shoe? Like, what's his shoe coming back? And then also, like, why haven't we done something with Tiger and LeBron? LeBron and Tiger have the same birthday. Why is there not something happening tying these two worlds together? Like, we have two people that are the greatest at the sport, at their particular individual sports, and we've done nothing to tie these two together. And like, now there's no better time than now, when golf and basketball and all these athletes are starting to really get into golf. There's no better time than now to tell these stories. So yeah, I didn't know anything, but I am excited that it's coming back. I actually have probably 2 to 3 pairs still that I have just sitting in the storage unit. I have the Masters pair, although I think the Masters pair was like 14. I think that was the TW14, or
they did a one in 13 also. They did one in 13.
So I have those from 2013, and I'm just like, like, I don't even want to wear these, but I'm happy to hear that it's coming back. And I've been pushing for it So I hope either a check or a pair arrives at the door someplace.
Yeah, no, I hope for you too.
Absolutely.
We did an episode last year. We ranked all of Tiger's shoes, and we've called it in multiple episodes. So we got you number one. Nike put Jacques number one, but then 2, 3, 4 right here.
Yeah, right here. We also agree with you that it's probably the greatest golf shoe that has come out, and I think just the technology at the time with the free and all these old adverts from 2013 are coming out because it's the same thing. And probably didn't listen to our last episode, but last episode we talked once it was confirmed that we found out that it was taken out of the vault, scanned, one by one. With materials and everything to be an exact replica of the TW13. And so this will just be like they never stop production, which is just huge.
That's great.
So very excited about that. So you're going to cop at least one pair, or hopefully someone's sending you.
I'll buy a pair regardless. Just so I have
what else do you think that you're going to get with some of the Nike golf shoes coming out? We got AJ6s coming out too. We got some AM1s and stuff. I don't know if you saw the Always Fresh, the Masters ones, and then the Freshman's of Bel Air AM1s too. So what are your thoughts on the lineup that is coming out that you've seen so far from Nike Golf?
I think it's exciting. What I would love for them to do is to treat golf shoes like they treat every other sneaker, and I want to see more collabs. Like I want to see a Union, a Kith, Undefeated. I want to see a John Elliott. Like I want to see like those sort of investments in the golf space that they have in like the Jordans and Nike, an undercover golf shoe, or any like really digging into those relationships and bringing that sort of energy to golf as well, because that audience is slowly transitioning to golf, but the energy that you have behind all these other sneakers is not necessarily there. Also like to see some really crazy throwback golf sneakers, like super limited runs, like a CB34 golf shoe or something like that. Just like really throwing it back to like the archives of like the 90s basketball era, because a lot of those guys are playing golf now, and bringing, some limited edition versions of those out. I don't think they'll meet, they're not going to be mass produced kind of things. But again, it's just more about the energy to the space and getting people excited about the game of golf and finding the stories that work with golf or work with a particular tournament. I don't think it's that hard to do. Like we pull stories out of thin air for Michael Jordan. We, from the bubble gum that he chewed to the car that he drove, we make stories about all of those things. So I think we can do those same things with golf. We just have to invest a little bit of time in making those come together.
Yeah, I think a good example of that was the last time that's ever happened was Brooks Koepka had to do that Off-White collab, and he did that, kind of like I don't think Nike helped support that, right? Like he had to get the Off-White shoes, and then he had to have the sole swap done. So yeah, totally with you that's something that needs to happen.
Yeah. All right, big thing in fashion. Probably one of our last things we'll talk. We don't want to keep you too long. We're just super thankful to have you on. And the Mischief boots. I'm assuming that I'm saying it right properly. Yeah. Your thoughts, and then what would Nike do that would be comparable? What do you think that Nike could do? I wouldn't say should do, but could do that would be comparable to these things, because these things are taking the world by storm. Like I'm not the biggest sneakerhead. I think the only shoe that we may have in common is that I have the Go Fly Ease shoes, the little step-in shoes. I have those, and I saw your post about those over a year ago now. So I'm not the biggest sneakerhead. I obviously love sneakers. I just can never afford them. And so, but these Mischief boots, and again, correct me if I'm wrong in saying it, right? Because again, not in the fashion space.
No, that's right.
But, your thoughts on them, and then like, would you want to see Nike do them? What would be the big thing that they could do?
So Mischief I see Mischief as art. I see it more as art than I think of them as a footwear manufacturer. Their purpose is to spur conversation and agitate culture. whatever that culture is, whether it's sneakers or business or whatever it is. Like they're a bit of an agitator, sort of. Yeah. And so like this boot thing, I think is one. I think they're very memeable, and I think that is what has allowed them to grow the way that they are. Is because with today's internet culture, it's like the perfect recipe for something to kind of blow up and be trendy. I think after this week, the trend will be dead and no one will talk about them anymore, and they'll be more like an archive piece.
Yeah.
But they definitely had their run these last 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But I think like anything really in sneaker culture now, next week they'll be done, and culture and fashion will move on to something else. They'll pop up every once in a while, but after this, I think that's kind of like the end of the road. But great, kudos to them for creating probably one of the most trendy moments in fashion in years. Like, I talked about this on Hard Pass that these overtook the Tiffany Air Force Ones. Like no one's talking about the Tiffany Air Force Ones anymore. All they're talking about is these red boots, and people are wearing these red boots.
Maybe a good thing for Nike that they're not, right? Like, So
I mean, how do you feel about the Tiffany thing now that you've seen like the other pieces that have come out about it? I know a lot of people have had strong feelings. I'd be remiss if we don't touch on the Tiffany release.
I still don't feel like there was the sort of creative investment that I would have liked to see. I think just throwing it on a black Air Force One and just doing the swoosh is like the minimum amount of work you could have done in order to get.
It's a disservice to both brands, I think.
Yeah, like I don't want to. Yeah, I mean, I get they were trying to keep it simple and elegant in a way that you can't necessarily, and that's hard to do with an Air Force One. But I don't know if simple and elegant was the solution for this type of collab. Tell a greater story, and if it's referencing Breakfast at Tiffany's, like that's problematic in itself just because of the way that movie portrayed Japanese people. So like that's a whole different, it's a totally different.
These were a pretty rough decade, but was it possible for them to live up to the legend that is the Tiffany dunk though? I guess you think some people were kind of holding them up, like expecting to, hey, can you get something better than a Tiffany dunk?
I don't think they were trying to hold it up to the legend that is the Tiffany dunk. I think if they would have employed or consulted with the pieces that made the Tiffany dunk, the culture would have been more welcoming to this shoe. And that's not saying that whether they are connected with Nicki or not. But the feeling is that they did this outside of Nicki Diamonds, and Tiffany wouldn't be relevant in the culture of sneakers without the Tiffany dunk or the diamond dunk. And the fact that like Tiffany was literally sending out cease and desist letters to bloggers when they talked about the diamond dunk, and if they called it the Tiffany dunk, they sent in cease and desist letters. So it's that sort of historical, those historical skeletons in the closet, just putting out a black and teal shoe isn't going to be enough to, I think, satisfy the culture, especially those that have been in the culture for a while and understand the relevance of the partnership. For those that don't have any connection to sneaker culture, they love it. I have friends that are like, oh, yo, have you seen the Tiffany dunk? Like, that is so cool. And I get that perspective. They don't have the historical, they're not seeing through the lens that I see it through. So there's those two sides of it. It's like, is Nike and Tiffany catering to the audience that would hype this up and get excited about this, or they're catering to the general public that knows Tiffany in the traditional sense?
Gotcha. I know we're limited on time, so you know what, you brought up a good viewpoint, and I wonder about that because we deal sometimes here with we call them the boom golfers, like the golfers that have come in pre-boom. Like we were talking about the Jordan 6. The Jordan 6 originally was a golf shoe with a free bottom, So to me, as like somebody who was here like pre-boom, that's amazing to me because it fused Nike golf technology with a Jordan upper.
Yeah.
We thought we were going to get that. We get like more of a true retro, right? And I just said like, hey, you know what? We still got a Ferrari. It's just that I wanted the 360 Modena, and instead we got like the Tom Selleck Magnum PI. We got the old school Ferrari. It's still badass. It's still a Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's still legit. Like right now, like when you talked about like maybe the more casual sneakerheads making a Tiffany reference to you not knowing the history, like when you approach your videos and or your opinions, you try to temper it by saying, well, you know, there is a newer generation or like maybe a more casual sneakerhead, or, you know, should I represent the diehards?
I think in order for me to continue to thrive in this environment, you have to speak to both audiences. I think the more traditional sneakerheads know I understand the history, and I think it's important to tell the story of that history. But there's also a different perspective on things in today's culture. They don't see things the way that we do. There is a generation of people, as we get further and further away from Michael Jordan, people are going to understand the relevance that he had to the culture less and less. Like I talked about this in the video before. Michael Jordan isn't Michael Jordan anymore. Michael Jordan is now a brand of sneakers, and he's not the basketball player that a lot of us grew up knowing. A lot of people that know Jordan sneakers now don't care what he did on the court, and they still wear his shoes. So he's no longer the greatness that is Michael Jordan is no longer relevant to the population that's growing up and that's buying shoes now. That's just the reality of it.
Hence why Bronny and Bryce were wearing Jordan shoes at LeBron's game when he broke the record. You know,
I still think they had an argument. I think they had a family argument. They were just trying to stick it to dad. That's what I just think. A little disagreement. They could have worn is it the NXXT? They could have worn their like they helped us. By the way, 20 for the hoopers out there, man. The 20 might be the basketball shoe of the year for me, honestly.
Yeah. Between the LeBron, Luka, and Melo's MB02, but the signature shoe space is in a good space right now.
Yeah, wholeheartedly.
This has been awesome, Jacque. We really appreciate it. We got to settle a little debate here. I think I know what I'm saying, but I need you to correct me in case I'm wrong. At Cousteau is the handle. Is that correct? Is that how you pronounce it? At Cousteau, or is it? Perfect. Yeah. All right. We just wanted to make sure. So follow Jacque on all that. Oh, give us a little tease about Voices on PGA Tour YouTube channel and everything. What you got coming up and everything. Like, let's hear about that.
Yeah, if you haven't already. So I work with the PGA Tour on a show called Voices. This is actually the second season. And the point of the show is really to speak and hear from different voices in golf that you don't necessarily hear from all the time. It's really sharing the shared experience of the world of golf through the eyes of people that aren't necessarily spoken to or listened to when it comes to golf. And this year we have a few more episodes coming up. I don't know what order they're coming in, so I don't want to say what is going to happen next. But yeah, we're really excited about it. And it's a really, really cool show. And I think it's really the start of something really cool that the PGA Tour is doing, and listening to the things that are happening outside of the world that they're used to, and allowing that to come in and influence how they look and how they do the things that they do, which I think is super, super dope. So it's really exciting.
That's great. That's awesome. We're excited to see the rest of them. Now I'm going to go back and find episode. They don't have a playlist for all the Voices episodes, so I got to go find them all and
okay,
go
I'll
watch
talk to them about that. I'll talk to them about that.
But you can find Jacque Slade on all of his socials at Cousteau on all things sneakers tech. Apparently bacon. This is from your Twitter profile, but we're super excited about that. We hope you come join us again. We want to hear your journey to scratch or at least single digits for golf, but this has been super fun. If you want to stay on, we're going to do our little sign off here for video. A couple things we'll play at the end, but if you want to stay on after we hit recording, we can chat some more. That'd be great. But other than that, like, this has been the Swoosh Life Podcast. This has been an awesome one. We're super excited for Jacque, Keith, Gumby, Matt. That's it. Hit him with a sign off there, Jacque. What's you got your peace sign, right?
This is Swoosh Life. We out.
Swoosh Life. We out. See you guys. Bye. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Make sure to go follow us on Instagram at the Swoosh Life Podcast to stay up to date on all things swoosh. And if you have any questions, comments, or business inquiries, please email us at the swooshLifePodcast@gmail.com. And lastly, give us a follow or review and become a supporter of the podcast at anchor.fm/theswooshlife/support. Thank you all for listening. See you in the next one.
Checks over stripes, yeah, that's what I like, yeah, that's what we like, yeah.